You know what I think is funny? All these people on Instagram posting about how time is your greatest currency. Well, nobody treats it like that. So time is actually not a great currency at all because everybody throws their time away. And today I'm going to share with you the 3 worst time management mistakes so that you stop throwing your time away. And when you stop throwing your time away, you're going to stop throwing your money away. You're going to stop throwing your dreams away. You're going to stop throwing your future away. My name is Craig Ballantyne and I am ruthless about time. I'm the host of the Early to Rise radio show. I'm the author of the Perfect Day Formula, The Dark Side of Discipline, and the Perfect Week Formula. I actually believe time is your greatest currency, and I live that way. I'm in alignment with it. I am ruthless with my boundaries. I am ruthless with my habits so that my time is spent on my wife and kids, just like my money is spent on my wife and kids. You know, I'm not just out throwing money away on the streets, just like people are out there throwing time away in their lives. So let's dive deep into this. Don't let me be too much of a negative person because I'm going to show you how to better spend your time, to fix these time management mistakes. And when you fix the time management mistakes, you will then have more time to work on your business, to grow your income, more time to work on your health, and more time to have with your family. We're going to scale your business and scale your freedom at the same time so that you reclaim focus, protect your peace, and maximize your results. All right. So let's dive into this and talk about these time management mistakes because I don't want you to have them anymore. Now, I was once like you. Nobody's perfect with their time. And I was once the kind of person who woke up late, hit snooze, checked my email in bed on my phone, and I had panic attacks because of it. It wasn't until I decided way back 20 years ago that something had to change. That's when I decided that the next day I would get up 5 minutes earlier and then take 5 minutes longer to check my email. And I did that for a week straight, just 10 minutes. So I wake up, back then I was waking up at 7:30. So I woke up at 7:25 and I didn't check my email till 7:35. And I used that time to write down on paper some ideas to move my business ahead. And I continued to do that every week. So the next week it was 7:20 and then 7:40 when I would check my email. So I had 20-minute block. And I would go to my computer and I'd write an article or I'd write an email to send to my list. I wouldn't check my emails, but I'd send an email to my list of customers selling them more of my workouts and nutrition programs. And the next thing you know, my business was growing faster and faster and faster and faster. And so recently I've been coaching an entrepreneur. He runs a physiotherapy clinic and he runs an online business as well. And he's been trying to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and he's finally nailed that. And he said, you know what? I really want to go to 5 a.m. And I said, whoa, do not do that. Do not go from 6 a.m. to 5 a.m. literally overnight because you will not stick to it. In fact, you will be exhausted after 2 days and you will say this 5 a.m. stuff is stupid. So I said, hey, for the next 7 days, you're allowed to get up at 5:45 a.m. And then the 7 days following that, you're getting up at 5:30. And then you're going to do 7 days at 5:15. And then finally, 28 days later, you'll be allowed to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And that's how he's going to nail that habit. So that's important. So when I was younger, my father was an alcoholic. And what I've read about children of alcoholics is they want more control. So one of the things that, because the external environment was so crazy with your parent being an alcoholic that you don't have any control over that. So you seek to control more things. That's what I've read. I don't know if it's true or not, or maybe I was just wired this way, but it got me to be really controlled with my time. So even when I was in high school, I was pretty regimented during the week. And then I'd be a stupid idiot on the weekend and binge drink with my friends. But I was regimented in that I would get up on time. I would get to school early. I would get to my after school job early. I would work there. I'd go home and I'd eat. Then I would go to the gym and then I'd come home and do homework. And back in the 90s, nobody did that. Nobody did homework. Nobody went to the gym. Nobody had an after school job. Well, a few people had after school jobs, but back then I was just very regimented because I could control it. And I was very particular with my time even back then. So now what I do is I want to help people like you who have difficulty getting to bed on time, difficulty shutting down your electronics and your sports games and your Netflix at night, and then difficult getting up on time, and then difficulty with your routine of your day and structure in your day so that you're not using your time. You don't have the magic time that I talk about in the Perfect Day Formula. You don't have the time blocks that I talk about. And when you don't have those in place, listen, you can, by sheer force of will and grinding, get to about a $300,000 income. I was working with this one financial advisor who's there, 60-hour weeks, always putting out fires, no time for magic time, no time for growth in the business. He doesn't see how growth is possible, but it's because he's in reactive mode. You have to get out of reactive mode and into proactive mode. So the 3 biggest time management mistakes, number 1 is no clear definition about what better time management is. So if you come to me and say, hey, I need better time management. Well, what does that even mean? What does that mean? Do you need more time blocks? Do you need to have boundaries? Do you need to have fewer distractions? The second biggest mistake is wasting your mornings on low value activities. I make videos about this and I joke around that people are doing cold plunges and green juicing and then their yoga and meditation and journaling and interpretive dance. And the next thing you know, it's 10:30 in the morning. And people like that because nobody does interpretive dance anymore, unfortunately. But, they get it. They understand. And a lot of people, resist that because they're like, I got to do this cold plunge. I got to do this hard thing. Well, isn't the hard thing working on your business? You're avoiding that by doing cold plunging. You're avoiding that by doing hard workouts. You're avoiding the hard, difficult conversations in your business by working out really hard. And I get it. You working out hard is kind of sort of good, but not if it comes at the expense of you avoiding hard work in your business, hard work in the difficult conversations in your marriage. A lot of people are doing hard things as a perverse form of procrastination. And that's what you need to avoid. Mistake number 3 is giving your brain anxiety stories. So you're filling up your brain with fear of the future, false expectations appearing real. Like, oh my goodness, if Joe Blow gets elected, the world's going to end. And, I don't read the news or anything anymore, but I hear this, the New York mayor, or the president of the United States, like, both sides of this are, oh, the world's going to end. No, it's not. No, it's not. Just turn off the news and I've avoided the news for the last 2 years, since the summer of 24. And I go out and I'm friendly to people on the streets and they seem friendly to me and the world isn't ending. But if you follow politics and all of a sudden this guy's elected or this girl's elected, all of a sudden the world's going to end. It's not. It's not going to end. I mean, I just operate by the rule that all politicians are psychopaths. And so therefore, it doesn't matter who gets in, there's going to be a psychopath in charge. And I'm just going to avoid the psychopath. And I'm going to operate as well as I can within the rules that exist. And there's ways to, everybody knows that you can not evade taxes, right? But you can minimize taxes legally because there's rules and loopholes in the rules. And you can do those things legally. Just like I can live anywhere I want in the world and not be affected by the ruler, provided I play within the boundaries. And, fortunately, I'm a goody two-shoes, so it's pretty easy for me to operate anywhere because I don't push the boundaries. So anyways, that's a little bit of a tangent there. But so many people have lost so much of their life to politics, politicians, what's going to happen, sports, this, that, and the other thing, gossip, worrying about what your mother-in-law is going to think about the fact that you don't cut your lawn anymore because you delegated it to the neighbor's kid who, you pay $20 an hour to, but it saves you time to go and make $200. And oh my goodness, your mother-in-law is going to come over on Sunday and she's going to look at you funny. And so that stops you from doing it. Like, this is how most people operate. And it's the wrong way to operate, right? Fear, false expectations appearing real, wrong way to operate. So what we're going to talk about is how to fix these things. So mistake number 1 of vague goals. If you want better time management or get organized or focus more, none of that stuff means anything to me. So let's talk about what exactly is better time management in terms of specific actionable item. So whether you want to write a chapter of a book or whether you need to do a sales presentation or make YouTube videos, you need to have defined your success clearly. So back to my client who's getting up at 6 in the morning, his daily accountability to me is that he gets up at 6 a.m. and then he works on his number 1 priority to grow his fitness business, his online fitness business. That is time management because we know we have specific definitions of success. Because if you end the day and say, I didn't have good time management today, that can mean anything. That can mean, you let a bunch of monkeys run around your house and you never got anything done because you shouldn't have let those monkeys in the house. Or it could mean that you let your meetings go too long. But I don't know what, letting your day get away from you means. I do know that if you say I got up at 6:20 and you wanted to get up at 6 a.m., that was a mistake. And there was a specific correction to it. And we can figure out, why did you get up at 6:20? So make sure that you have your morning routine set certain times. You get up at a certain time, you do a certain thing, you accomplish a certain goal before a certain time. That's time management. That's time ownership. Actually, I don't even like using the phrase time management. I like the phrase time ownership because I don't want to, rent something. I want to own it. I don't want to manage something. I want to own it. So making sure that you have that in place and making sure that you have boundaries around your planning time. So you should make sure that you're planning tomorrow, today. That's a huge mistake that I see. People waking up in the morning and doing their to-do list. If you're doing your to-do list in the morning, you're already too late. You're using the time of day when you have the greatest discipline, willpower, and intention to just figure out what the heck you're going to do. And that's a loss. So you have to plan tonight for tomorrow, and that's a win. And then boundaries. Most of us let the day get away from us because we don't have boundaries. We don't have boundaries for phone calls. We don't have boundaries for meetings. We don't have boundaries for work projects. And you start the day thinking, I'm going to get 6 things done. And the next thing you know, the first one took you 5 hours longer than you thought. And now you have no time for the other 5 things on your list. It's bad planning and bad boundaries. So you need to make sure that you have boundaries, but also for your distractions, such as social media. And that's why we highly recommend the Opal app. So the Opal app blocks you from going on social media at a certain time. So you could say, hey, I'm not allowed on Instagram before noon or after 5 p.m. Great. So now you have boundaries, and that's going to help you be more focused. And when you're more focused and you have 90 minutes of magic time per day, it's going to allow you to scale your business. And that's the bottom line. So making sure that you have that. Second mistake is wasting the morning, okay? The thing is you don't have to join the 5 a.m. club in order to make sure that you use your morning. Again, with my client who's getting up at 6, joining the 5 a.m. club would be a bad idea. He would just feel exhausted in 2 days. He would be a zombie, brain dead walking through the day and not get anything done. Sure, he joined the 5 a.m. club, but there's no medals for joining the 5 a.m. club. Like no one's going to say, at your funeral, well, he was a 5 a.m. clubber. Man, what a great guy. You know, I should give him a gold casket or something. No one's going to do that. No one's going to do that. Instead, they're going to judge you based on the family that you spent time with. That's it. You know, my uncle recently passed away. Bit of a surprise. He was 87. He had 5 kids. He had 9 grandchildren. And I think he had 8 great-grandchildren. He won the game of life. He was a truck driver. He was a farmer. And he worked in a factory. But he was wealthier than I know some multimillionaires whose 20-year-olds won't even talk to them. Like, what kind of life have you lived if your 20-year-old kid won't even talk to you because you screwed up when you were chasing money when they were 5 years old, 6 years old, 10 years old? So, you know, you got to figure out what really matters, and joining the 5 a.m. club doesn't matter. Even getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning doesn't matter. My friend Joel Marion built a $100 million business working from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. because he did it when there was no distractions. He followed my morning routine, but at 10 p.m. at night by focusing on the number one priority in his business. So it's not about the hour you get up. It's about what you do with the hours that you are up. Now, I know you're not going to work from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. because only a person like Joel could do it. But when you get up in the morning, get to work on your number one priority. It doesn't matter if you get up at 7, 6, 5:30, 5 a.m., 4 a.m. There's no extra bonus points. If your book chapter is not going to be, everyone's going to say, oh, your book is way better because you wrote at 4 in the morning. No, it's going to be good if it's good. And so make sure that you just focus on the quality of your work. Fix number 2 is be early to execute. So I love this phrase. I learned it from Penn of Penn and Teller. I went to a libertarian financial conference pre-COVID, and Penn, the big guy from Penn and Teller, gets up there and he gives this amazing entrepreneurial speech. And he said, to be early is to be on time. To be on time is late. To be late is unforgivable. And that's how I operate. I always did operate that way, but it's even better when you have that from Penn. And you don't have to be early to rise, but you have to be early to execute. When you have an idea, when you have the blueprint, when your coach shows you what to do, you need to go and execute on it right away. Be early to execute. The average person delays, hesitates, procrastinates, and waits, and they lose. So be early to execute. If you're late, you're going to lose out. So in the morning routine, identify your number one revenue generating activity and make sure that you do it early in the morning. Because if it's hard work, like cold calling or writing an email to your list or creating a sales page or creating a sales presentation or writing a sales script, it's going to get harder to do that. Your discipline, willpower, and intention are going to decrease over the course of the day. And it's going to be 2 o'clock and you're going to be, oh man, I'd rather just go and goof off or something like that. And you'll find some other activity because you're still at work. You're going to find some other activity to do. And you're going to say, I'll do that hard thing tomorrow. And then you won't hit it first thing in the morning the next day and you'll push it off again. And that's unforgivable. So make sure that you win the day early. And then finally, let's talk about this anxiety induced from false expectations appearing real. Listen, when I was younger, I had anxiety attacks, panic attacks, because I kept everything up in my head. And I was telling stories to myself. I was worried, in 2006, when I had the anxiety attacks, I was just being successful online and I started getting a bunch of criticism and hate. And I started, checking myself like, oh my goodness, if I send this email out, what are people going to say? They're going to get hate back. And I got called all sorts of names. When I first started my online business, you could see when someone unsubscribed and then it would be the reason. And I got called all sorts of names in that. It was before I knew how to turn that stuff off and, not get it sent back to my email address. But, that kind of got in my head and it got me in this anxiety doom loop. Like, oh my goodness, what are people going to say about this email? And I totally forgot about people like you who were like, I want more email from you. I want more information. I want more advice. I want more videos like this. And so when I was young, I was typical of most people who let the critics rule. But it's not the critics who count. No, it is the people that you help. And, back in 2006, I remember getting a handwritten letter from a 78-year-old lady in New Zealand, right? I lived in Canada. She sent me a letter because she was getting my emails, and, she's probably lonely, and she's getting these fitness emails, and she's telling me about her broken wrist, and, God bless her. And I should have been writing for her, not for the people who were anonymous cowards calling me names online and getting into my headspace. So don't give away your headspace to people. The fix is to make sure that you use what we call white space walks. So white space walks are where you're going to fix a lot of your problems. Get out in nature. Take your problems, but not your earbuds or AirPods or whatever they're called. Earbuds, that's a movie, right? Don't take your AirPods or Airbud. Don't take him out because he'll be running around and you won't be able to focus on your problems. So take nothing out. No audiobooks, no podcasts, no Spotify. Go out into the wilderness. Go to a park. Go to the forest. Doesn't matter what the weather is, and walk in nature, and you will solve your problems. That has been huge for me. When we lived in Mexico a couple of years ago, the weather is very inhospitable to living. It's 90 degrees, 95% humidity. I'm going out in the sun at noon because I'm in really busy days. I remember going for walks at noon. It was like you couldn't even breathe. The humidity was so powerful, and the sun is so strong. I'm covered in a hat and long sleeves and sunscreen and all this stuff. But it's the only time of day I could get any exercise, and I wasn't listening to anything. And I was solving a big financial problem in my business. And I did that. I went for a walk every single day at different times of the day, sometimes in the morning, sometimes at noon. And eventually the idea and solutions came to me, but I wasn't listening to anything. And I couldn't have taken Airbud because it was too hot for him anyways. But I didn't have AirPods in. I wasn't listening to Spotify or audiobooks or podcasts. I was letting my brain connect the dots, and that's what you have to do. So the core shift here is to go from scarcity to abundance, from reactivity to productivity, and from anxiety to awareness. Focus on what you control, right? My 3C formula, I hope, if you've read my perfect day formula: control what you can, cope with what you can't control, and concentrate on what counts. You control your time, you control your attention, you control your energy, you control your focus, you control your mornings. And when you do that, you fix your time management mistakes. So figure out which one is costing you the most. Do you have vague goals with no clear definition? Are you wasting your mornings on low value work? Or are you giving your brain away to anxiety? Commit to fixing just one this week. It's best to work with your coach. It's best to revisit the perfect day formula if you're wasting your mornings, or perfect week formula. If you need to fix your brain space with the anxiety stories, read my book, Unstoppable. And if you have vague goals with no clear definition, read my book, Dark Side of Discipline. If you don't have my books, comment the word books down below and we'll send you a link to get the first 3 books, Unstoppable, Perfect Day Formula, and Perfect Week Formula, for free, because that's at craigballantyne.com/free books. So get those books. It'll help you out. That's how you can fix it, is by getting this information so that you dominate your mornings. You plan tonight for tomorrow. You wake up, you go immediately to your hardest task. You do it, you grow your business. And if you repeat that 6 days a week, 52 weeks in a year, that's over 300 quality work days. And now you don't have no time management mistakes, and you're going to be growing. And as you grow, if you need more structure, systems to have more freedom in your life, you can get coaching from me and my team. Go to craigballantyne.com/coaching, or drop the word coaching down below, and we'll show you how we can help you out to grow your business. Like our clients who are hitting their first $100,000 months, who are having their first 7-figure years, and who are doing that all while working 10 to 20 hours less every week. All right. So craigballantyne.com/coaching. We'll get rid of the time management mistakes. We'll help you with your productivity, lead your people, grow your profits, and improve your personal habits. This is Craig Ballantyne from Early to Rise. Looking forward to talking to you on another episode soon. We are getting ready for an amazing year coming up. So let's make sure that we have all of this stuff dialed in. Talk soon.